On 5 Live. This is afternoon edition on 5 Live. Sarah Brett and Dan Walker with you until 4 o'clock. Tech is coming up after 3. No more sounds from the edge of space that are actually air conditioning from Albuquerque. I promise you. There will be, though, a double test of a smartwatch, so stay tuned for that. With us now, though, it is our great pleasure to reintroduce Cathal Smyth, ex of Madness. The love that is coming through the text console for you, young man.
Oh, really?
Matt from Bolton says to Cathal Smyth, loving your heartfelt writing, very funny poem. You and the rest of your ex-band are part of my life musically. Went to see you at Christmas, but have to say, One Step Beyond will never be the same. Going to miss your trumpet playing on the end of Grey Day. Never say never. Please, take care. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing about Madness is there's a lovely space in people's hearts and minds for us, and yeah, it's been wonderful. The relationship with the fans is really good.
7 of you. How did it all start?
Well, I met Mike and Lee. Mike had come up with the idea for the band, and Lee is the saxophone player, and we met in North London about 40 years ago, and we were a little gang of mates, you know, doing things that kids do then. Tagging was a big thing, and we were very much into bands like Roxy Music and Ian Jury and Americana stuff, you know, Shaboom, you know, all that sort of stuff. And we hung out for a while. And I think Mike suggested that we become a band. I used to be the bass player originally, but I wasn't very good.
You're a good trumpet player.
I'm not bad.
If you look up your role in Madness, it says vocals, trumpet, and dancer. That's your official title.
I come from a long line of dancers, so it's in the legs. Well, the knees.
But Irish dancer, yeah.
Ostriches, yeah, a bit of diddly, you know. It sounds like a bit of diddly. I can move across the room at inordinate speeds. Yeah.
But they were world champion Irish dancers, let's be honest.
My dad taught a world champion. They were very successful, yeah. My granddad won, I think. It was the first Irish dance school outside Ireland won the Festival of Britain in 1953.
That's amazing.
And they played at Cecil Sharp House, and Dad was a dancer, Mum, Granddad, you know.
You talked about growing up in London there. Sorry to jump about a bit, but it's it's reminded me of something that I read about you, your earlier life. You actually lived in Northern Ireland in the 70s and didn't go to school for a year.
I lived in Korean, that's right.
You did not, really?
I was a day boy in the Dominican convent for girls out in Port Stewart. And
what's not to like about that?
Well, it was a pretty difficult time. I was born in London, moved to Ireland, moved from Ireland back to London, moved from London back to Northern Ireland. So it was hard getting used to the sound. Who am I today? You know, what's the safest voice?
I went through the exact same thing.
You know, so it's a bit weird. But I mean, I sort of tend to think, like maybe a lot of immigrants, I'm London Irish. I'm first generation London Irish, and I'm very proud of the sort of London Irish community, and you know.
What was it like not going to school for a year?
It's safe.
You were getting a really rough time though.
I was getting a bit of a hating, you know. I mean, they were sort of kicking me instead of the football. Great, thanks. But, you know, it was a difficult time. It was, you know, Bernadette Devlin, the Troubles, Bogside and all that.
Yeah, it was 1971, wasn't it?
Not a good time. So, yeah. but you know.
Year before Bloody Sunday, so
yeah,
it's been very, very tense.
It was, I mean, you know, I was 11 years of age. And whilst I came from a family with a history, my granddad was IRB in Kilkenny, 1916 Brigade.
Irish Republican Brotherhood, for those who don't know.
Exactly. So I was aware of the situation. Obviously, there's very few families, you know, historically, that didn't have some kind of connection or effect of it. But
you said that you wanted to follow one of the 3 great Irish professions in one interview I read. Was it a priest, a teacher, or an assassin?
Well, things change as you get older, darling. You know.
I'm glad you stuck with the music.
You know, it takes a lifetime. I love the music, and I love. I mean, it's been a part of my life. My uncles and my cousins all play the pipes, and one of my uncles played the flute. You know, I'm dabbling with the flute. I play a bit of the bodhrán. You know. It's a great thing. It's great to do what you love.
The bodhráns a hard instrument.
No, it's not really.
Oh, come on. Well, you're obviously musically hugely gifted. But it's a drum, Dan. It's a hand drum. It's hard.
I'm just listening. I enjoy listening to Irish Hour.
Sorry, lad.
All right, now, anyway, let's go out the old apple and pears, talk about something else, eh?
Of all the things, you clearly talking to you, you're very passionate about not only playing music, but writing it as well. Of all the things that you've written and collaborated on, perhaps for taking us back to Madness time as well, what is the thing that you're most proud of that people still sing back to you now? Do you think, I had a part in that?
Well, I think there was one year, not long ago, when they took Our House, the lyrics, and they set it to some different music, and I think it was actually my ex-wife rang me and said they'd put it on, and I did cry. It was so poetic and it was so apt, and I found it very moving. Yeah.
It must be. Oh, who were we talking to the other day about someone singing about? Oh, the Proclaimers.
Yeah.
Talking about. And the same with Baddiel and Skinner. I mean, these people have achieved great things, but they say Baddiel and Skinner said, Euro 96, when people were singing back 3 lines to them, I know they haven't written much music, and then Proclaimers, when people go into Hibs games or in Scotland go travel around Europe and they're singing 500 miles, those sorts of songs, there's nothing quite like that feeling.
Well, it really is that tribal thing. I mean, people like getting together in big groups and celebrating a unifying concept. I mean, football, rugby, I mean, it's incredible, The energy is incredible. I mean, with Madness, the thing I, really valued most was the relationship live with the audience. It's an incredible energy.
You've actually written before that, the albums were almost a means to an end. The albums were almost just the conduit through which you would get onto the stage and perform.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think things are changing. I don't think Madness are particularly competing with the charts anymore. The back catalogue or catalogue of songs is the majority of what people want to hear is from probably 1979 to 83. That's that was our heyday. I mean, whilst a couple of years ago we had a highly acclaimed album, Liberty and Norton Folgate, which sort of said, there's life in the old dogs yet, just polishing my teeth, dear, down in a minute. Which was very nice to feel that you've still got something to say and people think, oh, there's a surprise. But what am I saying? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Where am I?
You're talking about...
over there a minute ago. I'm going to be on a beach somewhere else.
You're talking about performing and how much you loved it. Even more than actually writing the album.
I come from a long line of performers, dancers, and I love to get up there and do it. It's great fun. It's just it's an amazing thing. And Madness do have a very, very strong, I mean, when we played at Buckingham Palace, I have to say that I really did feel that, I mean, it was surreal, essentially, but I really did feel that we somehow represented the people, the working man's sort of band. I mean, I like to say, I sort of came up with this thing a few years back. I mean, Madness is the working man's Pink Floyd, We're a bright, shining virus of joy. And I believe that, I believe
I'm still baffled by the light show on the side of Buckingham Palace. I mean,
it was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, I have to say, the people who put that together, we owe them a lot. We owe them a lot. But I think, too, it's a loop, the exchange of inspiration. One is inspired by everyday moments of life, and then you create a song, and then someone who's a graphic, imager or whatever they're called, clever people, I think it's they get inspired to create something lovely, I want a backdrop, eh?
Yeah, bearing in mind...
With the pebble dust with a lovely pink.
Don't paint that funny colour. Bearing in mind how much you enjoyed that, how tough a decision was it to leave? And what were the discussions like with the rest of them?
There was very little discussion. It was a bit like that moment in American Werewolf in London where he's in a hospital bed and he wakes up from a bad dream.
I hate that moment.
Then another bit happens and he wakes up again. Then another bit, and that's what was happening. My sleep was slightly arrested. I really was all over the place. And I said to a friend of mine outside, oh, I don't know if I found the plot or lost the plot. She said, well, it's probably better if you think you found it. I thought, yeah, deep breath, deep breath. I mean, it is scary, You don't know whether you're walking the plank or crossing into the castle keep, It's been very real, but it's also made me think, what do I want in life? Who really am I? And how do I want to live? And personal integrity and forcing oneself into a reality that one believes in. I'm trusting in the universe. I know that I'm doing okay by the quality of my relationships with my family. My children are very happy. I mean, they're 2 young men now and a young woman. She's in Belfast acting there, with her shiny bean.
I love the way you just keep dropping in the Irish accent.
I like accents. I do Australian, mate. What's this? That's an Australian with an idea in the back of his head, mate. But anyway...
You'll have to be watching that on the webcam.
Okay.
To fully appreciate
I mean, my daughter does great accents too. We just like accents. I can't help it,
Listening to you, you sound... I don't know... This is right. I don't know... have you found, it's going to sound very ethereal now, have you actually found what you're looking for? Because if you look at, the things you've tried, I suppose, we've got transcendental meditation, you've consulted a Peruvian shaman, you've considered a Buddhist retreat, you've joined the Freemasons.
I've been on many Buddhist retreats, actually,
So have you found the answer in any of these things?
Well, I think it's like God's not the answer, he's the question. I think I'm reading Krishnamurti at the moment, and really there are no teachers. It's all about your self-experience, whether you can remove yourself from what you're observing to how you are the observer. What does it mean? I mean, it's a beautiful confusion is where I'm at, and that's what I like to say. It's, last year I returned to a place which I feel like a 7-year-old kid again, in wonder, that sense of wonder of life, the beauty of speaking, communicating with people, the joy of loved ones. I mean, it's beautiful,
When does and where from does your interest in spirituality come from? How long have you been sort of searching?
Well, I was an altar boy at a very young age.
Of course you were.
I consider myself a collapsed Catholic, an homeopath and fill 'em up, please. I don't know, it's in my genes, I suppose. I'm very comfortable with it, and it's a never-ending experience. But I don't think it's that odd. I think to have good intent is good enough, really. To be decent is good enough. You don't need to do any more than that, really. I don't think you need to have funny clothes, or I mean, it's I don't know where I'm going apart from a hole in the ground. Maybe I'll immolate myself for a showbiz moment, last moment. Give me half a ton of petrol dye. But I'll probably just end up croaking, and I hope it happens quickly, and I'm not a burden to my family. But we're not, none of us leave the world alive. It's all right. I'm okay with that.
Is that what the search is about? To find out all the answers?
I think to live as well as one can in this moment. This is my life right now. This is really my life. And meeting you two has been very pleasant. And your assistants outside have been very forthcoming.
It's a nice cup of tea there, boy.
Very nice. Yeah. First one was better than the second one, but it didn't have enough sugar.
You had one during the news and sport. You didn't quite see Cal's face when you picked up this is what I get every day, that random tea bag she just
I thought it was a bit of your ear she pulled off.
I actually put my fingers in my cup, take my tea bag out and throw it in the bin.
One every half hour.
I won't tell anyone.
Pretty vile.
Well, I might have just revealed your tea bag secret. Let's have a bit more music, shall we?
What are you going to play?
Are you all right if we play Do You Believe in Love?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's have a bit of this. Here we go.
Almost, sir. I listen to the bird song every morning, and quietly I watch the day begin. And every time I hear the birds are calling, they ask me if you're coming back again. And they ask me why I'm so blue. I told them it's just that I'm missing you. And they ask me, what you gonna do? I told them I'm just holding out for you. Do you believe in love like I believe in you? Do you believe it's love like I believe it's you? We can run, we can hide, we can close up our hearts inside, avoid our pain, play our games, we can wrap ourselves up in such heavy chains. I'm here, sitting in the sun.
Cathal Smyth, Do You Believe in Love? I'm watching you. This is so interesting because we always say to all our performers when we play them back their music, how do you feel, mate? And all of their reactions are completely different. You're the first to just sing it, do the brass bit, do the banjo, do the whole malarkey behind it.
If I only had me comb and a bit of paper, I'd be off.
Exactly. How do you feel listening back to it?
I feel very pleasant. I mean, music are time capsules of moments, and I wrote that outside my home on a pink sofa with my guitar, and I was looking out on this lovely view I've got, and I've been happy sitting on that sofa for 7 years. I mean, I'm slightly getting sore on me, anyway. But, and the birds were twittering, and it was like a Disney moment, and it brings me back to that. I mean, you know, and life is pretty, it's either, I don't know how much of a fantasy it is, or how much it's just bloody enjoyable, you know, I don't know.
But you've had to, you are interested in both the spirituality, as we talked about earlier, but also, as you joked about in one article I read, the opening of your neural pathways, which is a funny way of saying you took quite a lot of acid.
I took some very good acid a long time ago.
And you did quite a lot of drugs.
I don't think I did quite a lot of drugs. I smoked a lot of hash.
35 years.
Probably about that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if you know it, but a lot of people do.
What?
I mean, I think Queen Victoria, they found her bill for the old chemist bill quite a few years back. You know, she liked the old Lordum, the cocaine. Freud liked a bit of Charlie.
Fortunately, they can't.
I don't know how old Charlie was, but anyway.
So all of that in there, you took quite a big decision to go to Cottonwood in Tucson. What was that about? That
was really about depression.
Right.
I went. A friend of mine recommended a counsellor. I went along, and he said, and look, I could have gone on a Buddhist retreat, but that wasn't what I was looking for. At the time, my record company had lost funding. I was sort of odds with one of the managers of the band, who I didn't think was up to scratch, and then my ex said it was over. So I needed something intensive. I'm not the kind of guy that just sort of stops, and I knew that everything was out of kilter, and it wasn't a good time to make choices. So I went in for a refit. The way I say it is, I went in to have the software reprogrammed. You know, this had never happened. I thought it was forever and all those kind of sort of human frail concepts. Anyway, it was a bloody good thing to do, and it gave me a sort of toolkit to deal with it.
What happened in there?
Well, you do a lot of counselling. Every morning you're in for 2 hours doing primary group therapy. You have lectures about chemicals in the brain, like, you know, serotonin and endorphins. You do things like anger management, and you learn how to communicate. You know, when you do that, it really makes me feel hurt. You know, instead of going like, "Oh, you know," and you play games which show your control issues. And you
did you find out that you have control issues then, is that?
Tons of them.
Right.
I scored high on that one.
Right.
So it's a period of introspection. It's a very safe place. It's very non-judgmental, and I found it really amazing, actually. I had an idea a few years ago. My counsellor was good. I'd like to do a therapy voucher. You can have your feet nibbled by Japanese fish, or get your nails done, or get half an hour with a head doctor. So I think that, you know, take away the stigma, because I think life can be harsh. You know, the Buddha said all life is suffering. That's quite pervasive, and I think it's not a bad thing to sort of have a check-in every now and then and see how you feel.
It's funny, isn't it? Because there's a society in this country we're still a bit
stiff upper lip
about all that.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think if I put it, you talk about the elections. I was thinking, if you imagine this country's run like a home or run like a factory, I'd rather it was run like a home. And it was like there's enough food in the fridge and the beds are all comfy and there's clean linen. It'd be nice if everyone was a bit nicer. I mean, I can't figure out how we can be in so many trillions of debt, yet we can't afford the welfare service. We can't look after disabled people. We can't look after people who maybe can't find employment, or we can't create new jobs. And you know, the people we should be looking after, the people who are in greatest need. And as one of the richest sort of nations on the planet, I find it very strange that we're sort of gibbering about how many votes and what system. It's like everyone knows what's going on. You know, people need help, and people need a good health system, and I don't know, it shouldn't all be profit orientated. It made me think about drugs, actually. I was thinking aspirin came from the bark of a tree. You know, all drugs come from nature. They're synthesized versions of what occurs naturally. Anyway, just a random thought there, you know.
What else do you think is weird about this election, as a man who's seen many of them? How does it strike you overall, the run-up to this? Do you feel, we've asked a lot of people about this recently, do you feel engaged by it?
Well, what I feel is, you know, as a young man I read Robert Tressel's The Ragged Trousers Philanthropist, which makes the case for unions. And growing up in the 60s, there was a great sense of hope and one sense that the future was going to be good. And now I think that's sort of not as prevalent as it used to be. And I find it weird that so much programmes about people skiving and getting away with stuff, and when really the people who are getting away with it aren't the people on the estates and aren't the people at the bottom end. The people who are getting away with it are at the other end of the scale, and surely everyone realises that. I mean, I'm not talking revolution. I think it's really an evolutionary thing. You know, surely it's time to stop, you know, taking the extractive bark or whatever, you know what I'm saying.
They're playing the music, that means time has come to an
Typical when
end.
I'm really engaged in a conversation.
God, I'm going to miss you so much.
Cathal, thanks so much for coming in. Just a couple of people asking where they can get that poem from quickly.
Well, it's going to be appearing soon, in, maybe next year, in a play I'm writing, HMS Misery, Oliver's Twist Meets Cape Fear. It was also available in Le Gun, an arts magazine, released a few years ago. You might be able to get it if you go to legun.co.uk.
Cathal Smyth, pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much, and the best of luck with everything that you do.
Thank you.
After 3 o'clock, we'll be testing 2 of the top smartwatches on the market, including the Apple Watch in Click Live.
And we'll find out why one company wants to put batteries on our living room walls to power our houses. Will it work, and how much will it cost? We will ask all those questions for you in the next hour.
Election 2015, making it clear. This is BBC 5 Live.
It's 3 o'clock on 5 Live. This is Afternoon Edition with Sarah Brett and Dan Walker.
The top news on 5 Live this hour. The party leaders concentrate on undecided voters in the final few hours of campaigning.
And in sport, Gareth Bale's agent defends the Real Madrid player.
This is BBC 5 Live.
With the 5 Live News, I'm Rachel Bland. The election campaign is in its final few hours, with the party leaders touring the country in a last attempt to win votes before tomorrow's poll. David Cameron says he still thinks the Conservatives can win an outright majority, but he would put the country first in the event of a hung parliament. Nick Clegg says the Liberal Democrats will defy the opinion polls. Our correspondent Peter Hunt is travelling with the Labour campaign bus.
Ed Miliband is characterising this campaign as a clash of ideas. He says he characterises David Cameron as focusing on the few. He, Ed Miliband, argues, is focusing on the many working families, a phrase he uses again and again and again. He's trying to attract them, those working families, those undecided voters.
Nicola Sturgeon has told supporters in Edinburgh that the SNP will work with other parties to lock out the Tories. Nigel Farage has spent the day campaigning in the constituency in Kent. He hopes to win for UKIP. Deputy Leader Paul Nuttall says they're aiming for more seats in Parliament and more second places.
Success will be around 3.5 million votes, really people going out there and registering their vote for UKIP, and it is a protest against the establishment in this country, which has become detached from normal people.
In Carmarthen, Plaid Cymru's leader Leanne Wood said she expected her party to add to its 3 existing Westminster seats. The Green Party is calling on people to vote for what they believe in. 7 people have been arrested by counter-terrorism officers during raids in North London and Luton this morning. The Met Police say it's part of an ongoing investigation into fraud and money laundering believed to be connected to Syria-linked terrorism. French air accident investigators believe the co-pilot of the Germanwings flight that crashed into the Alps practiced the descent on an earlier outbound flight. Data shows Andreas Lubitz repeatedly set the altitude dial to 100 feet while he was alone in the cockpit. The director of the French Air Investigation Bureau is Rémi Juti.
On the outbound flight, the air traffic controller asked the plane to descend. It was a normal descent. Just before this descent, the captain left, and the co-pilot, once he was alone, set the button of the automatic pilot's altitude selector to 100 feet. So he repeated the action that he did during the accident.
4 men have been arrested in connection with an investigation into child sexual exploitation in the Bristol area. The offences are alleged to have involved 3 victims, aged between 12 and 15. 3 of the arrests were in Bristol, the 4th was in Newport in South Wales. Sainsbury's has reported its first annual loss in a decade. The supermarket lost £72 million, partly because of one-off costs. Retail expert Pamela Robinson spent 14 years working in management at Tesco.
They've always been seen as Middle England favourite grocer, and they've always positioned themselves on good provenance, you know, good food costs less at Sainsbury's, but they are getting squeezed like all of them are, and I think they're going to have to redefine themselves. Who are they and who is their consumer? Because it's all about the value proposition at the moment coming from the discounters.
More than £41 million has now been raised from donations in Britain to help people affected by the earthquake in Nepal. The Disasters Emergency Committee says it's overwhelmed by the public's generosity and the money is helping get aid to remote areas. That's the latest 5 Live news. Let's get the sport now. Here's Della Floyd.
Rachel, thank you. Gareth Bale's agent Jonathan Barnett says they don't take notice of comments from people who have failed in management. Former Sunderland and Ipswich boss Roy Keane told ITV that Bale gave Real Madrid nothing during their 2-1 defeat to Juventus in the Champions League last night. Barnett says, why should we take any notice of comments from people who don't know what they are talking about? New Zealand head coach Mike Henson has confirmed he has just 11 fit players for their tour game at Somerset starting on Friday. Batsman Martin Guptill is injured, while the rest of the squad still at the IPL are expected to arrive mid-May. New Zealand, of course, face England in 2 tests later this month. And many jump races, including the Grand National, will be officially shorter, according to the British Horse Racing Authority. National Hunt courses were surveyed and remeasured after it was discovered last year that the Charlie Hall Chase at Wetherby had been staged at a distance 78 yards too short for 5 years.
This is BBC 5 Live on digital, online, smartphone and tablet.
The weather, blustery showers will affect most parts of the UK this afternoon, with more persistent rain at times across the far north of Scotland and through central England. Maximum temperatures reaching 11 to 15 degrees, but it'll feel quite chilly with the strong winds and showers. Most of the showers should clear overnight, with clear spells and temperatures dropping to around 4 to 9 Celsius. Thursday will be a decent day for many, with lots of sunny spells, lighter winds, and only a few showers in southern England and the north of Scotland. And the travel news, Renfrewshire, very slow traffic on the M8 eastbound after an accident that's now on the hard shoulder between junction 26 and 25. Queues are back to junction 29. Worcestershire very slow on the M5 southbound after an earlier overturned caravan between junctions 5 and 6. Slow traffic on the M4 westbound in Gloucestershire. There's one lane closed because of an overturned vehicle between junctions 18 and 19. And in Essex, slow traffic on the M25 clockwise is after an earlier accident between junctions 26 and 27, but all lanes have now reopened.
5 Live, where football lives. Including the Premier League. Saturday on 5 Live Sport. Kick-off 12:45. Everton against Sunderland. Then it's the 3 o'clock kick-off. Newcastle against West Bromwich Albion. The best live sport is on 5 Live, where football lives.
This is Dan and Sarah on the afternoon edition with you until 4. Click Live coming up shortly. Just some great text to read out about Cathal Smyth. Somebody saying it's probably the best thing I have ever heard on the radio, period. This person says. David in Shrewsbury says that Madness bloke was brilliant. And lots of other people keep talking about just how much they enjoy